What's going on, guys? We got a great video planned for you today. We're at Mopar Nationals in Carlisle 2023. We have a whole bunch of Mopars to cover. We're going to go over the prices of the cars, certain features about the cars. That way you guys have a pretty broad idea of what the Mopar market's doing. I'm Parker with Backyard Barn Finds, and let's get going. The car I want to start out in the pavilion with is this replica of a 1970 Superbird. Now, how do we know this is a replica? Well, it's very simple. You can see that it does have the Hemi down inside here, but the actual VIN number on this car is GOG, which would actually be a 318 car. That's what they started out with. And I'll also show you why it actually doesn't have the Hemi pieces that would actually make it a real Hemi car. So I'm not 100% sure what this car sold for. We were not able to find that information out for you. You can see that it is a bench seat, 4-speed car. It is painted in the correct color for one that if I wanted one. However, if we take a look under the rear end underneath here, I'll show you what pieces that would be here if it was a Hemi. So there's no bracket actually right here for the Hemi pieces. It would actually have a little brace right in here where the leaf springs would bolt into to kind of make this a little bit stronger for the Hemi. And you can also see the differential right there. There's an actual plate that they weld on there for the Hemi cars, a snubber plate that's specific to Hemi cars, and this car doesn't have it. It's very difficult to show, but if it was a Hemi, that plate would be there. This is pretty neat. This is a 1970 Hemi engine, just the engine by itself. Now this actually would have belonged in an E-body, which would have been either a Cuda or a Challenger. The front carburetor, I believe, is a 68, and the back carburetor looks like it is a 70, but if you needed one for your car, I'm not sure if the owner has a phone number here or not.
$34,000.
Yep, 34. What do you think? Is that a good price for this motor?
You ever heard the saying, a fool and his money is soon parted?
Well, then you don't have a Hemi. What I think is cool is it says if you're thinking 10 grand, the 90s called and they want their motor back. I'm not exactly what it costs. I'm not sure what it costs to actually purchase a Hemi new or a used Hemi. I don't trade in Hemis very often, but if you think $34,000 is a good price, just let us know in the comments below. This is a 1968 Charger Hemi car, and we can see here on the tag, it does have, it says Hemi Engine right here, and it is a RT because it does have the S for special. And if we actually take a look at the VIN, we can see that it is a J-code car. Now this is a copper metallic paint. We obviously know that it is a 68 car because it does have the circle side marker lights here, first year for that. Also, if you didn't know, first year for the dual cylinder across all cars. In other words, before 1968, you only had to have one cylinder for your brakes, whether it was power brakes or non-power brakes. Dual cylinder was standard in 68. We can also see that this car does have the Hemi logo on the side here. Looks like it originally was in Massachusetts. Looks like it does have the 4-speed in here, which does make it a little bit more desirable. It does have the 150 mile an hour speedometer in it. Now what's cool about this car is it is a real Hemi car, and I'll show you how we can tell. And if we get underneath here, remember on the Superbird that we took a look at that was a clone car, it did not have the actual torque boxes here for the leaf springs, and you can see how this one does have the torque boxes welded in back here for the leaf springs. That's Hemi specific. Also, it does have the Dana 60 rear end here, and there is the actual snubber plate on the back side that does confirm that this is a Hemi car. So pretty cool stuff here at Carlisle 2023. Probably one of the coolest cars here at the show is this unrestored 1969 Charger 500. Now, what exactly is a Charger 500? They were built for homologation just like the Daytona Chargers for NASCAR. Now, it's said that they only built 392 of these, but the actual number is really not known. And this is not like your normal Charger. So for example, the actual grille in this car is 100% completely flush so that it actually went faster on the NASCAR track. Now, they did have two engines that were offered in these cars. You could get a 440 or you could get a 426 Hemi car. Now, of course, they didn't make that many 426 cars, and I'll show you on the VIN number and the fender tag over here that this is an L code, which would be the 440 version. So you can barely see it, but there is an L right there. And there is an L right there. So it does also have the XX, just like the Charger Daytonas. Now, these cars got every single option as a Charger RT car. However, it did not actually get the luggage rack, and it did not get the vinyl top, because the actual tops of these cars were different. They had a flush back for NASCAR to make them more aerodynamic, so the actual vinyl tops wouldn't have fit on this car. What's also cool to this car is it did actually get a different bumblebee stripe down the side that does say 500 on it. That is specific to the Charger 500 cars. And we can also see that it does have still its hidden VIN number here on the actual trunk lid. Something really else that's cool about this car I want to show you is they did actually drill the fenders for the RT logos on these cars. However, they were actually filled in from the factory. They went down the assembly line as an RT car, and they filled in the holes and then put the stripe on the outside, because these were, they didn't really know that these were going to be Charger 500s when they went down the assembly line in the very beginning. Now, this car is one of two known V7 blue cars. The other one is a 4-speed. This one is an automatic car. But we can see here that it was found in a junkyard in New Hampshire or in Maine. I forget exactly what the state was, but we can see it's B7, only two known. But what's really cool is it does have the actual pictures of the car in the junkyard. So definitely a holy grail junkyard find if you've ever seen one. And if you guys like content like this, please give us a consideration to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get this information to viewers that are much younger than most of the people that currently subscribe to the channel around my age. You want to help teach younger people about Mopars, give us a thumbs up, and we're going to keep moving on. So this is usually how I find the Chargers that I trade in, and this one looks like it may have had a tree fell on it or an actual front end collision. It does say that it is a 69 RT car, 440 4-speed, track pack, stripe delete, red with black interior. That's a pretty desirable color. And they are asking $7,500 for this car if you want to zoom in on there. I don't see a phone number there. We can see that it does have the hole in here for the 4-speed. It does have the pedal in it. You know, if you're looking for a sub $10,000 Charger, this is about the condition that they do come in. Now, we did take a look at a Charger 500 earlier. That car would have had a flush rear window, and this is what they all originally looked like without the flush rear window, but it also has the RT holes right here in the back, so we know that it was an RT car. 1969, best year, best color, red with black interior, 4-speed in my opinion. One of my favorite barn finds at the show is actually this 1970 Barracuda. This is a 318 car, so it's not a Cuda, it's a Barracuda. And we can take a look underneath the hood here. We can see that it does still have its original 318. It looks like original block to me. Yep, we can see right here on the fender tag, it does have a G here, so we know that it actually is a 318 car. Now, the owner's asking $45,000 for the car. Originally a 4-speed. His number is right here. He does have an actual copy of the build sheet, which is pretty cool. Might still be under the rear seat. I don't know if that's been taken out or anything like that. But this is pretty much how these cars were back in the day. They made about 1,300 Barracuda and Cuda convertibles in 1970. So this is a very, very rare car. That's why it's costing $45,000. But overall, I just like this car. You just don't see these out in the wild very often. You don't see convertibles very often at all. Now, of course, if this was a big block car, it would have said Cuda on the back here instead of Barracuda. And what's cool is it does have the Space Saver tire, which, you know, GM did that as well. That was pretty much a Mopar thing, but you just don't really see those very often. Now, this car would have actually had left-hand thread studs. Can't really take a look at it because they got the covers on here, but on the right side of these cars, it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, but if you were to take the wheels on and off of this car, on the left side here, since it is all original and has not been messed with, the wheels actually go on lefty-tighty, righty-loosey. I actually learned that when I bought a 1968 Dodge Charger 318 triple green car out of a barn in Warrenton, Virginia when I was 17 years old. My dad didn't tell me any better. I went to change the wheels, hit it with torque wrench, and bam, snap the stud right off. So 1970 last year for the left-hand thread on all cars. We're at Building T. This is where all the heavy hitter cars are, probably the most important ones here at the show that Carlisle kind of put together for us to take a look at. And what I mean by most important, we have 3 Color Me Gone cars that were actually raced by Roger Lindemood, and he actually won the 1964 NHRA Nationals, and we'll take a look at the car that did that back in 1964. This car right here is a 1964 Dodge 330, and it's not, 330 has nothing to do with the actual engine that's in this car. I mean, they made 330s, they made 440s. 330 is the stripper version, or the stripped down version, meaning it doesn't have all the extra goodies on the side and all the chrome pieces. It was just the base car. Now we can see that it does have a 426 cubic inch, 425 horsepower max wedge engine in here. And we can also see that in 65, he has his 1964 NHRA National Champion on the back. Now 1964, when this car won the national championships, that is when the first Hemi actually was available to the public. The first Hemi actually went to the Ram Charger race team, which was a team of engineers by Dodge. But the first Hemi sold to the public was sold to a racer named Bud Fauble, who actually was born and raised about 20 minutes south of here. So the first Hemi ever available in the United States came to Chambersburg, Pennsylvania down the street. So the car back here is a 1965 Dodge Coronet A990, and very rare car. They actually made 101 of these cars for Dodge, and they made 101 of these cars for Plymouth. So if you were going to race basically back in the NHRA in 1965, your car had to come the way that it was from the factory. Remember, this is the beginning of drag racing, so this car is completely a stripped down version, really, really lightweight. So for example, it does have a Hemi down inside here, but the intake on this car is actually made of magnesium. It's 15 pounds lighter than the 64 versions of these cars. And you can actually see that there's no back seat in this car as well. And it also has seats from an A100 van. And if you're not familiar with what an A100 Dodge van is, there's one actually behind this car that you can use for reference. But this car also only has one wiper blade. I don't know if you see that. There's one wiper blade. It does not have carpets, doesn't have a heater in it. Very, very lightweight car from the factory. Very, very cool car. 101 made Dodge Coronet A990. So I want to show you guys something. We have a couple Super Bs here. This is a 1968 Super B over here. And the reason we know it's a 68, of course, you can see how it has the post that comes down. The glass actually pops out. It doesn't wind down or anything like that. And that stopped in halfway through 68. And in 69, they actually had 2 styles. This is a 69 car behind us here, and it does not have the actual post. We can see it does have the scallops on the side, but what I wanted to talk about is the brake drum colors. Now this car has hubcaps on it. It doesn't have the road wheels. There's no Magnum 500s. There's no rally wheels or anything like that. You can see that this car over here is a 68 car, and its actual drums are painted red in the back. Now, I haven't been able to find the actual start date for whenever they actually started producing the red drums in the back. There is a date that's been floated around out there that's January 31st of 1969. If that was the case, then that car right there would actually not have red drum brakes painted on the back. But we can know that because that was an option on, well, it wasn't an option, it was mandated on all cars that had the road wheels like these. These are Magnum 500s, and road wheels are the ones that you can see right through. So if you could see through the actual wheel to the brake drum in 1969, this is a 68 Charger, so it does not have the red brake drums. However, this 69 Daytona down here does. Now this is a 1969 Dodge Daytona, and we can see that it does have the mandated red drum brakes on the back here. Now what they did is they put red stripes about 2 inches wide around the brake drum, and they applied the wheels wet. And just something kind of cool not a whole lot of people know about on these Mopar cars. Now, this of course is a 69 car. However, they did come with actual 70 fenders on these cars. And those scallops right there are basically so whenever you're moving around or going around the banks, that the actual wheels have a little bit more clearance. Now, this car does have the Daytona stripe on the back, and that stripe was available in 3 different colors. You could get it in white, you could get it in red, and you could get it in black. Now, That wing is also 23 inches tall, something that a lot of people don't know, but they only made about 503 of these cars. They were homologated for NASCAR, and they are very, very, very expensive, some of them selling into the millions of dollars. So this car behind me is a 1971 Dodge Demon, and it's actually done very, very well. We can see here that it says the devil is in the details, and that's exactly what we're going to do, is go over the details of this car. So there's a little bit of difference between the 71 and the 72 cars. So for example, this is a 340 Demon. See how it says Demon 340 on the side? Now, in 1971, the 340 cars actually got the circular gauges. I don't know if you can see that all the way in there. 72 cars, the gauges were square, and if it was not a 340 Demon, just a regular Demon in 1971, then you did not actually get the circular gauges. Now, there is a difference also in the hood. See, 71 is the only year for the Demon where they actually got 2 hood scoops. On a 72 Demon, the hood scoop is 1 hood scoop, but it has 2 snorkels, and we'll try to find one of those at the show here for you. Now, in 71 and 72, you could get the 340 in both cars. However, the 72 cars have a lot less horsepower. Now, the last thing on this car is the 72 cars have a flat actual trunk lid, and you can't really see it on camera, but the 71 cars have a little rib that actually goes down the back center of the trunk lid on the 71 Dodge Demon. We have a 1967 Plymouth Belvedere Hemi car. Notice it does have a bench seat in there. It is on the column, but what's really cool is that this car actually only has 1,400 miles on it from the factory. I don't know if it has its original wheels and tires on here. They do look like they could be original, but very, very cool 426 car. Don't see them very often with that low miles on them. One of the coolest cars that they have in here is this 1971 Plymouth Cuda, and it is a Hemi car. Now, this car was actually restored by Mark Warman at Graveyard Cars, and they call it the Phoenix Cuda. The reason they call it the Phoenix Cuda is because this car was actually in a fire in 1999, and you can see the picture right here. And you can also see that it is one of 48 automatic cars. It's also one of 7 in B5 blue. It's one of 4 to have the black billboard Hemis down the side. We can take a look at that down there. And it's also one of 1 super track pack car with the actual leather interior. Very, very rare car. Now, this car does have the original block inside of it. However, everything else on this car is actually brand new or been replaced. The average selling price for a Hemi Cuda Coupe, not the convertible, those bring millions of dollars. The average selling price is about $225,000, depending on originality and engine originality to the car, but the highest selling one of these recently was $925,000. We can take a look at it one more time, 1971 V5 Hemi Cuda. Got something different for you. This is a 1971 Plymouth Roadrunner, and different body style in 71. They actually call this the Coke bottle body style. Now, if you've been paying attention to the market recently, you know that these cars are kind of creeping up in value because the 70s, the 69s, the Roadrunners are just, they're bringing a little bit more money, and these cars were kind of looked over for the last couple of years. But we can see that the owner's asking $55,000 cash for this car. His phone number is right here. But what's cool is it looks like he does have all the paperwork there for it. I like this color. It is plum crazy purple with the white top, with the white stripe. If this was a Dodge and not a Plymouth, it would actually be called violet, not plum crazy purple. But very, very cool Roadrunner, 1971. We can see that still in 71, we do have the painted brake drums through the rally wheels back there. Just something awesome to take a look at. Also has the slats here to match. Just really, really coolly presented car. Car that you don't really see very often is this 1965 Sport Fury, and it does actually have a Hemi down inside here. Now, this is not original to this car. This is a 66 stamp block. It was originally just a 383 Commando car, but what I wanted to talk about is the actual Chrysler Pentastar on the side of this car, and these were available on all Chrysler models between 1963 to 1972, and the reason that they were actually put on the passenger side of the car is so that if you were walking on the sidewalk, that you would actually know that this was from Chrysler. This does not appear on the actual driver's side of the car. And what's really cool is if the car was sold overseas or was made right-hand drive, it's actually reversed. So the Pentastar is on that side. So this car is pretty cool. We have another Plymouth Superbird. This is a 1970 Superbird, and I'll show you. This one's actually in B5 Petty Blue. And it was an original car up until the owner repainted it back in 1983. So everything else is original on this car but the paint. We can see the actual U code down here. And the U code stands for 440. Now you could get the 440s or you could get the 426s, and this is the 440 car. And something unique to Roadrunners, you know, they kind of stole the, I'm not sure if they had to pay royalties for the actual sound, what you do when you hit the horn, but you can see when you hit the horn, it does go beep, beep. Very, very cool car. This car is actually offered for sale for $325,000. If you want to get the owner's phone number, right there it is. A lot of wing cars here at the show, and we'll take a look at a few more right now. What's really cool is we actually have the world's most awarded Daytona Charger here. And of course, this is a 1969. Now, we looked at a couple Superbirds earlier. Something that's different on the Daytonas, of course, is this front nose cone. The Superbirds would have had like a rubber piece that would have went right here. This is kind of like a mesh grille, and we can see all of the awards that actually this car has won. Now, it is offered for sale. The owner has mentioned that he's not really looking to sell the car, but it is here. It does have a phone number on there. We'll get that for you in just a second. He was looking for around $800,000 for this car, and the VIN number right here on a Daytona Charger, we can see the first digits are XX, and then it does have an L for the fifth digit, which does stand for the 440 Magnum. Very, very, very cool car. It is done, of course, in the orange. It also has one of the three colors on the back here with the black stripe. It does have everything on this car is pretty much done correctly and looks brand new. It does have the red on the actual drum brakes itself, but you can see all of the awards that this car has actually won. Very, 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 very well done. You can see here it does say the world's most awarded Daytona, and of course the owner's phone number is right here. If you're interested, you can give him a call. So I'm here with James, and James has a bunch of rare Mopar motors that he's been gracious enough to kind of teach us about. And James, I'll let you take it over. He's got a couple Max Wedge blocks here and a couple Mopar Hemis, and here you go.
Absolutely. There's so much interesting stuff on some of these motors. So many people would think that the Max Wedge was a special block and everything, and it was, but it wasn't what you would think. These were made out of heavy-duty truck blocks.
Okay.
They were water-tested.
I get them. So this is a 413 block here,
yes,
just to kind of cover what we've
sure,
spoken about
absolutely,
so far.
Absolutely.
And you're asking $4,500
yes,
for it?
That's for everything, the crank and all the parts.
What I've just learned from you in the last 5 seconds is that the Max Wedge motors, they were truck blocks. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that was it. And the heavy-duty truck blocks.
The heavy-duty truck
blocks. They
blocks.
had to be them. They included more nickel content in the iron that the block was made with, and they actually had thicker cylinder walls too. That's why it was very easy for them to use in the racing, because it was much stronger.
And are these NOS?
Yes, these are brand new in the crate.
Never been crate motors, never been made, never been used.
Yep. And that's really curious, because they really were crates back then. Actually a wooden crate. Yep.
And then this is
that's a 426. 426 Max Wedge,
okay,
right?
So they made two of them.
Yep.
And you're asking $9,500 for
yes,
this one?
Mostly because this has the Max Wedge heads. One unique thing that I found, I've built race engines and I've seen a lot of brand new crankshafts. This is the only crankshaft I've ever seen where they actually radius the oil holes. Racers always do that to the crankshafts, but I've never seen a crankshaft one radius from the factory, so that's very, very unique. Very unique. Yep.
And then what's this one behind us over here?
That's just a little plain Jane 318. That would have been
318 block, huh?
Yep.
Just a crate block, never been used.
Yep.
And that's $2,700 item right here.
Yep.
And
all the little cars, all the little trucks,
yep,
little 2-barrel, 4-barrel. Yep.
You do have a Hemi block over here, and and what can you teach us about the Hemi block?
We got this block at the Mopar Nationals quite a few years ago. The gentleman I bought it from told me, I don't know if you see this side of it. You have to, yeah, you have to take a peek at this side. It's a cutter. It's one of their cutaway blocks. You can see that the pistons are actually kind of a semi-hemispherical shape, and the cylinder head itself underneath there is actually hemispherical too. Chrysler made 6 of these, and they took them around to the shows, the World's Fair and stuff. Then they donated them to several of the institutes that were teaching mechanics how to become mechanics and stuff, and they have just become crazy wealthy to try and buy these things.
Yeah, super expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
We just looked at a Hemi block over there. I'm sure you saw it. It's the 70 E-body block down there. They want $34,000 for it.
Yeah.
As a person who kind of trades in these blocks,
yes.
What is your opinion about that price? Is that a good price? Is that a bad price?
It's an awful lot of money, but if it actually is close to or happens to be numbers matching for your car, is probably a good deal.
Okay.
I have a 71 Hemi Challenger, and a guy, Galen Govier, located my original motor in Chicago.
You know Galen?
Yeah, he's a good buddy. He documented my cars.
Cool. He's a very well-known Mopar
Yes,
documenter.
yes,
He does
very
mostly-
knowledgeable about
Yeah.
all the cars. He found my engine, and this was probably 15 years ago. The gentleman that had it, I had to give him a perfect 70 Hemi block that was perfect, and I had to give him $18,000 on top of it. So that was probably maybe even more than this gentleman's asking.
But it works for your car.
But it works for your car. It's the correct engine, the numbers match. It actually makes your vehicle more valuable, and it makes me feel better that it's the correct engine for the car.
I'm the same way. I feel
like
that.
I like to have the correct one.
Now I see you got some rare intakes over here. Now are those max wedge intakes or
No Max Wedge, all Hemi stuff.
all Hemi stuff? And can
Sure,
let's go
glad
take
to
a
show.
look at it.
Sure.
I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
I don't know anything about really Hemi motors as far as like intakes and stuff like that.
These were all NASCAR.
These are all NASCAR.
Yes,
I see
sir.
it's made out of magnesium.
Yes, this one is magnesium. This is a straight aluminum one. Very heavy. Surprisingly for aluminum, it's very, very heavy.
Okay.
If you notice too, there's a spacer on this. This would have been the first year's 64, 65, and then at 66 and later, they were running more and more RPMs.
So there's no spacer on this one.
Right.
And then this one, there's a spacer on.
This made more volume inside for the higher RPM engines and stuff. Yep.
And
This would have been the first year for NASCAR Hemi. This is a magnesium. Please pick it up and see what you think. It's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that amazing?
That's like, they 3D print parts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's like kind of like what that is. And you're
absolutely.
it says first NASCAR Hemi intake manifold.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
Wow,
what
that is. I can't convey that on camera.
Isn't
but
that amazing?
It definitely is. Like,
It really is. It really is. There's a great story with this one too, if you'd like.
We'd love to hear it.
Sure. This manifold Chrysler made, and the reason they made it in 64 and 65, Chrysler was dominating NASCAR. So Ford in 66, they approached NASCAR with a 2 4-barrel manifold that they made for their cars. Chrysler saw that and said, well, if they're running 2 4s, I should be able to run it. So they designed and built this. Again, genius, the runners and stuff. The runners actually went down into the intake valley of the engine.
Okay, I
and,
see that.
Really.
Just talking about how deep that this
Yes,
runs down.
yes. That was the tuning that they did with the ports and stuff. Chrysler then went to NASCAR, and NASCAR looked at him and said, get out of here, you're making plenty of horsepower. So we had to run with a single 4-barrel against Ford running 2 4-barrels.
Okay.
Isn't that amazing?
Is this, is this a magnesium one?
Yes, that's
And then this
magnesium.
would have been on an A990 car,
Yes,
is that
this is a
correct?
drag race one.
Yeah, this
Again, pick this guy up, see what you think, magnesium.
We looked at an A990 car in
Oh, you
there,
did?
and I knew that they were magnesium. Oh my God!
Isn't that
wow.
something? Isn't that amazing?
That is.
Isn't that amazing?
That's not even heavy at all.
I know. 2 packs of cigarettes,
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, incredible. I have one more very
absolutely.
interesting manifold
Sure.
if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
This,
a Hillboy. Okay.
Yep. This manifold for the goldenrod, they set the land speed record at, 409 miles and a little bit in 1965.
Okay.
There were 4 Hemi engines in that car. They damaged one intake. Hilburn made 6 of these. They damaged one, and this was the only one that was left. This was left on the back shelf of Hilborn, and a friend of mine located it, and he got it for me.
Now, I'm not familiar with the Goldenrod, so that is a land speed record
Yes.
vehicle
Yes.
that they had 4 Hemis in.
Yes,
Well,
they
okay.
damaged one intake,
They damaged
so
one,
they
okay.
used the number 5 intake, and this is the only one that's not on the car now.
Understand.
The Ford actually purchased the car,
Okay.
and they restored it, and it's beautiful. I'm so glad that they did it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to get in contact with James here, the phone number and the information is right here. It's 941-900-9841. And definitely a wealth of information about Hemi motors, Max Wedge motors, and all of the stuff that we just went over. So again, I thank you for your time.
You bet, guys. Enjoyed it very much.
A few videos back, we actually found a couple barn find Cudas, and they were all TX9 cars. And just like the car behind me, TX9 stands for of course, black. And they only made 1,718 340 H-code 4-speed Cudas in 1973, and this is one of the black cars. And a few videos back you can check out 3 other ones that here in Pennsylvania. So really cool stuff. You just don't see black cars very often. I think they're some of the most sought after Cudas. If you think so too, just leave a comment below. So behind me we have a 1970 Challenger. I love Challengers. I think they're really cool, but one thing that I learned, I had a 1970 Cuda that I actually bought in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and it didn't have any floor pan from actually the door back, so it was gutted for a race car. And I thought that I was going to be smart and actually buy Challenger floor pan and put it in the Cuda, and that's when I learned that even though they're both E-body cars, they actually don't share any sheet metal any of the years. So no sheet metal for Challengers will fit on a Cuda. Now the owner is asking $14,000 for this car. It is a G-code 318 air conditioning car. His phone number is right here, but we'll take a look at the overall condition of this car. You can see it's got the rally wheels on here. It does have the incorrect bumper on the front. There is no engine or trans. I'm not sure if one comes with the car or not. It doesn't look too rusty. I mean, it does have some surface rust on it. It does have 120 mile an hour speedometer in there. It does have the seats and everything in there. See if it's got a trunk in it. Can't really tell. She's pretty crusty from underneath there, but if this was a 71 car, there would not be a reverse light right here, and it actually would be silver. A little bit different on the 70s and the 71 cars. I just think this is probably one of the coolest looking Cudas here at the show. Now, we haven't really gone over exactly Cudas yet, and this one is a 71. We know that because it's the only year Cudas had 4 headlights in the front. It also has the canards down here at the bottom, and 71s did also get the gills in the side just like this. Now, this car is an N-code car, so it does have the 383 in there. So it doesn't have the original 383 in here, but it was an original 383 car. It does have the black billboard down the side here with the rally dash in it, with the pistol grip, and I just think the pistol grip is probably one of the best shifters of all time. If you agree with that, just leave us a comment below. But overall, very cool Cuda. A 70 instead of a 71 would only have one tail light back here with the reverse light in the tail light. You can see that in 71 it was split. I think they actually have a tail lights over here. I'll show you that. No, so those are also 71 tail lights right there. But what I wanted to show you guys down here is this Hemi for sale. And of course, 64 was the first year for the 426. This is a it does say that it was built September 24th, 1964. The owner is asking $14,500 for this motor, and he does have the actual phone number for him right here. If you're interested in it, it's got a bunch of Keith Black parts on it. He's also got Keith Black parts over here too. You can reach out and give him a call. This is pretty cool. This is a 1970 GTX. Now, the GTX is actually the top of the line, so it was the most expensive version. It had all the creature comforts, all the gadgets. And what's really cool is this one has the air grabber hood. You can see the mechanical system right here. But in order for this to actually function, they had to put a 3-speed wiper motor on it. If it did not have this hood on it, it would actually have a 2-speed wiper motor, which actually kind of protrudes out to you. Now, this car is an original V-code car, and You can see here that on the VIN number it does have V, which stands for, of course, 440, and it did have a 3-barrel, 2-carburetor 6-pack on it. You can see here that the car is for sale. It's asking $22,500. We'll kind of give you a step back, give you a complete overview of the car. The front fenders don't look too bad. Doors don't look completely hateful. You can see here that the rockers on it look pretty nice. And what I mean, you can see it has all the wood grain on it on the inside. You know, the Satellite was the lower version. It wouldn't have had that. It's got the GTX badges on the side. Same body as a Roadrunner also. If you can take a look at the front here, I'll show you. It does still have a Roadrunner logo on it. But really cool car. You don't really come across GTXs very often. A lot of these Mopars were very thin metal, so most of the time you see a Mopar, of course, it does not really have a trunk pan in the car. Familiar theme here at the show. I don't know, guys, if you guys like GTXs, you know, let us know in the comments. I think this is a really cool car, something that I don't see very often in my adventures. So I'm standing here with Matt Delaney, and this is actually his Viper motor, and I don't really know anything about Viper motors. And Matt, what can you tell us about this car, or this motor?
Well, this engine right here was manufactured in 2006. Dodge had a crate engine program at the time.
Okay.
They made the stand-free wiring harness and the computer for it so that you could put it in anything. I put one in a Challenger and a Charger.
Okay.
So they fit. It's a little bit tight, but they still fit in there.
That's
they drive real nice.
Yeah, it's a big motor to fit down in there, but I would love to have a Viper motor in a Challenger.
Yeah, and they cool real nice. It's aluminum block.
Okay.
And they're light.
And
so,
what are you asking for this?
Well, this is $18,000.
$18,000, and you guys can see his phone numbers right here if you're interested in this motor, and that's how they can get a hold of you.
Correct.
And what else? What other kind of stuff do you sell here? I see you have another engine over here.
Yeah, this is a 6.1 crate engine, both from 2006. Dodge was really big into the crate engine program at the time.
And what's that run? What's something
this right
like
here,
that cost?
That's $9,000.
About $9,000. Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of plug and play, ready to go.
Yeah. Sure
Okay.
is.
Awesome.
So both
awesome.
of them you can put in really easy. That's easier, obviously, to put in than this.
Okay.
But you know, it's a lot of fun.
A little bit more parts available, probably.
Yeah, you have to fabricate your motor mounts.
Gotcha.
But past that, that's really all you need. And the oil pan has to have a little trim done to it for the clear the rack.
And what's the horsepower rating on this Viper
It's
motor?
505.
505. And for those that don't know, this is a 10-cylinder, not a V8.
Correct.
So really cool stuff here. If you're looking to put a Viper motor down in one of your cars, give him a call. The phone number is right here, and I appreciate your time.
Sure.
Thank you.
You have a good day.
You too. One of the coolest cars, in my opinion, at the show is this Challenger here behind us. And the reason it's pretty cool is it's converted completely into a drag car, but it's done over the top. It does have an actual Dodge Viper engine in here, and the reason we know that is because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means that there is 10 cylinders on this car. And the intake is correct for the Viper motor. We see that they actually used a motor plate to put this in here because the amount of horsepower that this motor is making. It also is twin turboed. I don't know if you can see that. Here's one turbo on this side, and it also has another twin turbo on that side. So who knows the horsepower that this thing's putting out, but it definitely is above 1,000. I can guarantee you that. We can also see that it is completely caged. And it does look like it has the Viper transmission in there. You can see the Viper logo right there. I'm not sure if this car is for sale, but it is tubbed, it is gutted. It does have, looks like coilovers all the way around, disc brakes in the back. Looks like weld wheels in the back also, Hoosier tires. I mean, if you wanted to race a car, I mean, this is a pretty decent start in my opinion. Definitely one of the coolest cars here at this show for sure. So I'm standing here with Tony, and we actually have a Dodge van, or I guess a camper, that I've personally never seen before. This car is for sale. Tony's asking $21,900 for this car, but Tony, what can you tell us about it?
This is one of Frank's Industries' first compact motorhomes. It is technically not a camper.
Oh, okay.
It's actually a motorhome.
Gotcha.
And it's because it's fully self-contained.
Oh.
Unlike a Volkswagen, let's say, a Westfella, is
Okay.
not fully self-contained. This actually has a bathroom. It has water. It has a stove. It has a refrigerator.
We take a look.
All of those things. We can certainly go inside.
Awesome. Yeah,
Probably
thank you
best
for
one at a time.
thank you for teaching me that. I didn't know that.
So
Oh, you can actually go inside?
Go right ahead.
Oh, wow.
All right, step inside. And once you get in there, you should be able to stand up.
Oh my goodness, there's plenty of room in here.
And you'll see there's a bathroom in the back.
Come on in.
Bed.
This is like buying a whole house for $21,000, dude.
And of the 274, there appears to be about 50 or 60 left.
Okay.
And out of those, it appears only maybe 7 or 8 have the complete camper interior still intact, original. So this one is original interior.
And I want to get your phone number for the audience here at home, and this phone number is right here. Oh, you're local, 717, okay. Yeah, if you're interested in this vehicle, give Tony a call.